Cynthia was elected to 5 terms in the municipal government of Fallon as on the board of aldermen. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. And she ran for lieutenant governor of Missouri on the Constitution Party ticket in 2012. She's had some other runs since then. She and her husband have been married for over 36 years. They have 7 children. I introduce to you Cynthia Davis.
Thank you. Very glad to be here. Thank you for that exciting opening. How many people in the room are going to run for office? Raise your hand. Nice. See, that's cool. That's cool. How many people in the room are going to be helping somebody run for office? Raise your hand. See, more people even yet. That's as it should be. Now, I want to thank you for your commitment, and I'm here to help you. That's what we're going to do, the art of winning. How to win. This is for everybody in the room. And I'm passing around a notepad, and I would like you, some of you may have seen my podcast, but you haven't because you're not on my newsletter list. So please sign your name and address and email address and phone number. And if you like Daryl, you really need to listen, if you want more of Daryl, listen to my podcast. We talk with him frequently, and it gives you a chance to learn from Daryl more stuff, and he's excellent. So you'll enjoy that. So today, I do want to introduce myself. Obviously, we had a little bit of a introduction, but I did run for several offices, and I've had an opportunity to represent the state of Missouri in the legislature, which is a partisan position. City of O'Fallon was not partisan, but my city has 80,000 people. What I want to encourage you with is all levels of government have similarities. Got 7 children, 1 husband. We're having a lot of fun. If you will sign my clipboard, you don't have to, but I do want you to, if you want to learn how to become informed, that's your way to find out. I will send it. If you don't like it, that's fine, but I guarantee you'll like it. So the most important thing when you're trying to decide if you want to run for office is to take a time of evaluation. That is actually the most important part of your whole campaign, is to take the time to reflect. Is this the right time? Is this the right place? Are my family circumstances right? I don't recommend you run for office if you're getting a divorce or if you've got some rough criminal record or if there are problems going on. There's a chance you might be going to some bad places or don't have the time. Do you have the right energy to run? I mean, everybody has your own capacity, and you know what it is. You're the only one who knows what that is. But when I laid in bed at night and asked myself, am I going to feel better if I run? Or am I going to feel better if I let my opponent get a free ride? That is what gave me the desire, and it's called the fire in your belly. Something in you already knows if you're going to feel better giving them a challenge or if you're going to feel better sitting this one out. Do you have the right motivation? Are you doing it for the right reasons? Do you have the right momentum? That's your whole community. Do other people around you get excited about the idea? And then you have to look for the right opportunity. There are some years and some contests when it's a no-brainer. You need to do it because you're the right person. Then there are other times when it's stacked against you. If you jump in, it's going to be a bloodbath. Do you really want to be part of a bloodbath? When I talk about the right opportunity, I want to encourage you to think about the power of the incumbency. Now, I have had a few opportunities to run against an incumbent. And here's the deceptive nature of when you're running. There's a temptation to say, well, I don't like him and therefore nobody else likes him. Well, not true. There are a lot of people who naturally are going to like the incumbent, whether he's good or bad. And so there's a lot of factors that go into that. We're very pragmatic, and we tend to, here's the point. It's very hard for a principled person to see somebody in office who's unprincipled and understand why he or she should be there. But there are other things. For example, name ID counts for a lot. And if you don't believe it, you'll find out if you run against an incumbent. Even with a name, a very odd name that's very difficult to pronounce, people learn how to pronounce it and they learn to like it, and it becomes part of the charm of the community. Whether he's good or bad, he's somebody they know and recognize. The staff. Do not underestimate the power of an incumbent with staff, because the staff can and will do things to make the incumbent look good. Unless you have paid staff that's as good, you're already going against an unfair contest. The government-funded mailings, those count for about $1 million a year for each congressman in benefits. They get 18 staff members, and they get to mail their mail for free because of the arrangement they have. So when you're thinking about it, count the cost. The previous favors. This is amazing. I ran for office against an incumbent, and on the campaign trail, what did I hear? Oh, I'd love to vote for you. Oh, you're great. That's awesome. Now, who are you running against? And I would say his name, and they'd say, oh, I can't vote for you. He did a special favor for my son. Or he worked out some legal mess I was in. Or he gave somebody a recommendation to do something. You know what, folks? I would have to say to them, it's okay. It's okay, folks. You can still vote for me. I can do favors for you, too. But they couldn't see that. I'm so sorry. We live in such a world. But the reality is, once the incumbent has done a favor or been there for a special interest group, it is very difficult to overcome that. And that's why the longer they're in office, the more difficult it becomes to run against them. And the final factor is a lot of people just don't like change. Given a choice, we want to wake up in the morning and drink our morning beverage and open the paper and believe that everything is going to remain as much the same as possible. People like status quo. It doesn't make it easier. The idea that the old expression, and I don't really like this expression, but it says it the best. People would rather have the devil that they know than the devil that they don't know. And you know what? Even though you can say, I'm going to help you, I'm going to be the best thing ever, I can win this thing, and then we will make a difference. They don't know that you're not going to end up being twice the son of perdition. You don't know. You don't have a track record to prove it. So if you've gone through the moment of evaluation and scrutiny, and you feel like it's the right time to run, you need to decide what you're going to run for. Do you want to do local, state, statewide, congressional? It depends on a lot of things, and I'm going to help you sort through this right now, and you'll come out of here stronger and better. It's easier to win the smaller the district. Now, I know a lot of you are sitting there thinking, wouldn't it be great if I could change the world? And that's really easy, especially since when you flick on the nightly news, you're seeing a lot of stories that are world or state or country issues, but you're seeing all kinds of stuff about Donald Trump and the presidency. And so it gets in your mind that that's where it's at, and you're up on those issues. But the pragmatic reality is that's going to be a lot of time, energy, and money spent for very little gain. And a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to run for local because, that's boring. You know what? You can find your own, thank you for laughing. You can find your own excitement at every level. You can find the same issues run through every level. So do whatever is most likely to get you a victory. That's where you need to be. On the local level, people are more likely to vote for you because they know you. And the higher up you go, the less it's possible for anybody to know you. Now, you're not going to get to meet everybody in a congressional district, but if it's a local district, it's entirely possible you could get to know everybody. And yes, you have a question? Well, we're going to get to that. Unless you're a rock star or you're privately funded. If you're a millionaire or a rock star, then just pick any office you like. You have to have money to make a difference. The municipal office is like a step stool. Everybody in here can probably get up on a step stool. The step ladder is like more like state office. It's a little hard. I picked a wooden ladder on purpose because they don't make them as much today. But I've climbed on one of these wooden ladders, and the truth is, it's a lot harder than it looks. Those things are very wobbly, and if you go up as high as you can, which don't ever get on the top, I recommend not, but there are people who've done that, and that is very scary. So it's easier than it looks. Not everybody can do it. Now, I did put a picture of the state step ladder in here. This is a true story. True story. This is my state rep license plate I used to drive around with. And when I first got elected, I had people come to me, and my predecessor, actually, the man I was replacing in state government, he said, Cynthia, when you get sworn in, the first thing you got to do is get one of those state rep license plates. You will save more money on speeding tickets than what you spend on the license plate. But it is, a lot of people are afraid. They think that the elected officials aren't that great. They're not that great. They're you and me. They're just like us. And they're frail too. And they're tempted to speed too. And of course, it worked the opposite for me. People used to laugh at how they had to pass me because I went below the speed limit. I figure if I've got this on my car, the most important thing I can do is set an example. It would back up traffic all behind me for miles. It was fun, though. We had fun. But a lot of them give this appearance that they're so uppity, and they're really, yeah. This is a picture of the congressional level. Guys, if you're going to do it, it's going to be very difficult. You have to have a lot of people, energy, and money if you want to do that. A lot. So, one big reason for why you're running is more important than a lot of little reasons. Now, it should be more than just I'm doing it to do a favor for my political party. You need to run to win. You really need to try and win. Because people can tell if you're not really trying to win. You got to get out there and give it your all for the credibility of the party. That does more good for the party. Moral outrage works very well. I'm going to give you a quote by Morton Blackwell. He said this, moral outrage is the most powerful motivating force in politics. So there is plenty of moral outrage to go around right now in every office. There's shenanigans going on the city level, the state level, and of course Congress. You hear about that all the time. But what's happening is they're cheating us. They're robbing the taxpayers. They're doing bad things. They're unconstitutional. they keep doing it all the time, again and again, you will find your issue. It is pervasive, and it is a cord that runs throughout all levels of government. When I was in municipal government, that's where we learned about what's wrong with adding a tax to a phone bill. They were all upset because we're not getting our fair share. We've got the municipal taxes tied to the landline, and we need to tax people's cell phones. How are we going to do that? And I remember being the one saying, hey, guys, why do we have to tax their cell phones? And nobody else was speaking there. So there are places, school board everywhere, where people are doing unconstitutional things. And it's up to you to set the right record straight and give them a conscience. Don't be underfriended. The winner of the political contest is determined by the number and the effectiveness of the activists on respective sides. Now, here's what you need to understand about this. The person who wins is the person who has the most activists on their side. And this principle transcends all political parties, Democrats and Republicans alike. If you've got more activists and they're more effective, you will win. It's a mathematical, proven, scientific reality. If you're running... Now, see, the beauty of having a party behind you is you don't have to go it alone. This is where the Constitution Party can amass some energy and some real momentum because of the power of the party, and we're not availing ourselves to that synergism that we can all get. If we pull together and say, wait, we've got a party here, folks, don't feel like you have to run like an independent. You don't. You're not an independent. We're a team, and we're going to help pull you over the finish line. We're going to work together. There's power in that. That's the goal we need to look for, is how do we get more effective? How do we get more people? And I think the Darrell Castle campaign proved that it's possible to pull people together. You don't have to be a lifelong member of the party. Now the number and effectiveness of the activists and leaders on a given side in a political contest is determined by the political technology used by that side. And that's where we can gauge and measure our effectiveness. There are beautiful tools in place today. Don't be underfunded. Now, I know this is a tough part of the talk to have with you folks, but money is important. You can't save the world if you can't pay the rent. You can't ask for donations if you're not a good candidate. If somebody offers you a donation, you've got to pick it up quickly. Now, this is a trick that the Republican Party taught me for real. When you're raising money, I know money is not the topic everybody gets excited about talking about. But you know what? I'm only talking about it because I love you. And you have to hear about it. It's the truth. Now, this is something I learned in the Republican caucus meetings where they were talking about how to win. They said, if somebody offers you a check, say, I will pick it up. When can I come over? You gotta get the check in your hand. Half the time, if it's up to them to put it in an envelope, they'll drop off before that ever happens. This is the benefit of running in a smaller district, because I got a lot of money from calling people up saying, can I have $100? Well, we started at $500, but if it was $100, I can give you start bigger. Can I get $1,000? If it's no, then can I get $500? If that's no, can we do $250? People, you got to get used to it. It will help you. And then once they say yes, say, can I come over and get it now? I really need it now. You can drop everything. Leave your beverage to get cold on the desk and get in the car and drive over there, because that's the only way you're guaranteed to get that check. If he says, oh, I'll mail it to you later, half the time they don't. Just saying, it's worth $250 to drive over there. This is the famous quote, money is the mother's milk of politics. So what's the secret to attracting money? Yep. Folks, you have to have it to get more of it. You're going to have to put some of your own in first before you can expect others to join you. If you don't have personal investment in your own campaign, others will know and they're not going to want to invest either. It's really important. It is a test. It is a test. If the people closest to you don't want to contribute, you may not want to run. Maybe you shouldn't, because it's no fun having a campaign where you don't have money to do the fun things. I'm going to just tell you this, and I don't tell many people this, but since you came out here on a Friday afternoon, you deserve to hear a few of my secrets. When I ran for state senate, the Republican caucus actually taught me this. Put money in your account just to make it look like you've got money. You can pay yourself back later. Make it a loan. It doesn't have to be a total donation. It's a loan. And my husband and I actually did go to the bank one day, and he did put $30,000 in my bank account, and it scared the bejeebies out of me. I'm like, I can't believe you're doing this. But the way it works is if you win, it will backfill from the lobbyists, and if you lose, wow, that's bad. Don't do that. I lost, but I did get it back in another way. But yeah, that was pretty gutsy. But think about it this way, okay? Most of you in here probably do not gamble. And if you do, we have a platform plank about that. You should go read it. But, well, then maybe you know about this. But let me just say, this is as close as we can get to gambling. So if it gives me a little bit of fun, sometimes you just got to live gutsy. And your chances of winning your money back is greater than if you go to the casino. Now, this is a true statistic. You're not going to get this everywhere. But this is the people who win, the best political consultants in the country will tell you that the candidate needs to spend 50% of his time on the phone getting money. And that's because nobody is going to, your chances, you want the person who's going to get the money to be the one doing the asking for the money. If the candidate, what the donors really want is FaceTime with the candidate. They want to know if they're going to have access to you if you win. So yeah, it seems extreme, but yeah, you need to spend 50% of your time on the phone asking for money. Before we get on there, I want to say one more. It's called dialing for dollars. I got a lot of my money on the phone because it was a more efficient use of my time to be calling people, asking for the donation, making my appeal. Raising money is the one thing most candidates don't want to do. But if you don't want to ask for money, folks, maybe you're not ready to run because you got to have the money. Now, let me give you an illustration. It's not about the hard dollars. It's about what they represent. The money represents your ability to communicate. Now, if I throw a pebble across the room, many people may, unless you're in the room, you're not going to notice. If I fire a cannonball, a lot of people are going to notice. I might get a newspaper article about it. That's going to be cool. Shock and awe. We have to do something dramatic or the rest of our activities are less valuable. You have to have volunteers. This is a funny picture I did find. Yes, that's kind of what it feels like when you run a campaign. You can't go it alone or you won't get the excitement going, but the volunteers are your activists on your side. If the whole thing comes down to a contest of who has the most activists, you have to realize we spend so much time running a campaign, it better be a good one. it's not just about having the right answers. A lot of people compare this to city council. They say it's not student council. But it truly ends up being, at the end, it is a popularity contest. People do like to pick who they like. Here's some lessons I've learned. The quality and the effectiveness of your campaign will be determined by how many people get involved. It's kind of a hard thing to hear, but you gotta have a great campaign. It does take a lot of people to win on any level. You need a lot of people. Every campaign is going to have some surprises in it. You'll have good ones and you'll have bad ones. You'll have moments when you're like, this is the coolest thing ever, I can't believe it. And then you're going to have some bad moments, but hopefully they balance out in the end. And always be ready for anything, because you don't know what's going to happen. And some of the candidates, who knows? Who could have guessed in Missouri here? There are people who die. There are people who go to prison. There are people who have bad surprises right at the end of their campaigns. And if you didn't put your name on the ballot, you wouldn't be there to receive all those voters looking for what is the alternative. This is my first campaign. I ran for the O'Fallon Board of Aldermen. And I want you to know it was a nonpartisan race. But it was just makeshift. But that's okay. That's where I started. That's where people helped me. This is my sign. I'm showing you this because my mother hand-lettered this. This was a campaign that was less than 1,200, so I was exempt from filing. My signs were so flimsy, and it rained on election day, that they were literally falling off the sticks. But it didn't matter because it got me on the bottom rung of the ladder. And because I was in city office when it came time to run for state rep, I already had a platform. I had built-in people who knew me. It was the first time I had to declare a party. I had people coming to the polls who said to me, I've never voted for a person of your political party in my life, but I know who you are, and I trust you because now you do have a track record. Once you have a track record, then people know and they'll vote for you because they know you. Second office was state rep. I got elected to 5 terms in city government, 4 terms in state government. We have term limits in Missouri, so after 4 terms you have to go away. They do make you pay dues. Now, I'm not telling you the Constitution Party should do this. I'm telling you what the Republican Party did. I ran as a Republican. And after I thought I was a gift to the Republican Party. Isn't that cool? But no, they wanted me to donate $2,500. It's called their Incumbent Protection Plan. And I did because I was so scared. The next time they wanted $5,000 for their Incumbent Protection Plan. The next time they wanted $12,500, and that's when I got brave enough to say no. But I actually got brave enough before then. While I was in state government, I did win this little granite plaque. Because you came to Missouri, it wasn't too much trouble to bring this. It's not like I had to put it in an airplane. But this is my award I got, my granite plaque, for being the most constitutional legislator in the state of Missouri. Thank you. Oh, thank you. You know, you don't get plaques like that by following the rank and file. There's got to be a point where you decide they're going this way and that just doesn't feel good anymore. I'm not going to do it. Now, a lot of people, somebody asked me during the break a question about someone else who's currently in the legislature. And the question became, how constitutional is he? Because, frankly, we're the only party who seems to care about constitutionality. And I said, well, the problem is he has the aspirations to keep going up the ladder. Like I showed you the ladders. And there's a point where if you want to keep going up the ladder, you might need to sell your soul and obey the party leadership and do what they say. And that's tough. That's a tough thing. But that's when I decided this isn't gonna, I don't care. And that's where term limits could be a good thing, because then I went out on my own. My voting record actually got better the longer I was there, because I quit caring as much about pleasing them. But I'm just saying the power of the party is defined by money. And that's the hold they had on the reps. Now, I'm just sharing from my own story. I did run statewide on the Constitution Party ticket, and I had a lot of people. It wasn't all Constitution Party people. I brought my own people with me, too. It was a blend. It always is. It always will be a blend of your own Christmas card list, your family, your friends, your network, the people who go to church with you. Plus, it should be Constitution Party members who come because they love you, the principles. And when you blend them all together, you get a fabulous recipe. These are some people who came. I ran on the Republican ticket for a state Senate office, and I had these leftover signs. And being a thrifty person who doesn't see why should we waste them, I decided we can refurbish them. So we had a sign refurbishment party, and that's what me and my friends looked like when we got done. We put a little sticker. I'm going to use the pointer. There we go. This used to stay state senate. We changed it to lieutenant governor. And this one up here said, you can't read it probably, it said Republican, and we changed it to pro-life endorsed, because that was a message. And these are some, you'll notice, Cindy Redburn, bless her heart, came and helped. And that's my husband, and that's my other newsletter guy, and it was just a glorious, glorious night of people working together. This is what parties should be, and this is what we should all do to win. Appreciation. You got to appreciate. I'm looking at this. It's a very eclectic group of people. And this is the old sign before we refurbished them, just so you can see what a mess those signs were. But we saved a ton of money and had a lot of fun and had pizza, brought people together. It was awesome. This is, you got to go to events. Now, these are some, because it was statewide, I had to go farther out of my ring. If you can imagine a circle, concentric circles. So these are some people, we did events, and I have to say, you got to give up your life if you're going to run for office and just commit to being everywhere. I shocked and amazed people that I was everywhere and my opponent wasn't anywhere. And it was more fun when your opponent isn't anywhere and you run circles around him. This was a fun day. This is a pro-life booth at a fair. And I was shocked that you can't see this from the picture, but the whiteboard behind me, they put all the candidates that were endorsed by Missouri Right to Life, and they picked me over the incumbent. And I didn't even know these people. I'm in a picture with all these people, but they cared about life. And so if we all care about life and it was the pro-life booth, let's all do it. And parades, you got to be in every parade. This is, you might wonder, why do I have to be in every parade? I only go by for a few seconds. You got to get yourselves above the water line. And parades are a lot of work, but they're also a lot of fun because you can get now, you draw in a different segment of people. There might be people who want to sit at home and make phone calls. They're not going to want to be in the parade. I'll tell you that right now. They like their phone and they like their beverage. As long as they don't have any alcohol in it, you're fine. But we did a lot of parades. We did a lot of parades, folks. And it takes a lot of brazenness. It's not comfortable. You have to learn how to do the wave. And you burn a lot of energy. Yes, you got that. Yeah. And you know what, though? Make yourself, stretch yourself, go outside your box. It makes a difference in the community. This is a friend who made a sign, Keep Christ in Christmas, Cynthia Davis for Lieutenant Governor. This was a Christmas parade I was in. It was the most bitter, awful night of my life. I was sick. I had a sore throat. I could hardly even swallow. And it was like 10 degrees outside. And we had to wait for 2 hours for the parade to even start. And my fingers were numb. I thought I was going to die of that night. It was bad. But you know what? It's worth it in the end. If you stretch yourself to the maximum, first of all, you'll never know how far you can go unless you make yourself do it. But anyway, this is another parade. We had a lot of fun. This sign, it's the same sign, folks. We just repainted it for the 4th of July. Declare your political independence. What more glorious message can you have for the 4th of July? And why would you want to forfeit the opportunity to give out that message? That's a great message. Now, I did an experiment. Now, I'm going to explain this to you because you need to know something. Don't ever poo-poo yourself for running on the Constitution Party and think maybe if I ran on a big brand name, it would get me anywhere. No. I did this grand experiment. Okay? I was curious. Is it the Constitution Party that caused me to not win the lieutenant governor race? Or is it just different? Is it that people don't want constitutional values anymore? And I believe some people want constitutional values, but will probably never get above the 30% mark. That's why you have to use your charm to get yourself over the 50% mark. But anyway, I put this in because it's sad. It's a sad slide. I'm smiling in it, but this is funny. It's so sad, it's funny. I went to file for office on the Republican ticket. I don't even know that guy in the picture. That's my husband, and I asked some random stranger to take a picture of us at the Republican Party headquarters. And this is even more sad, because I'm there filing, but I'm by myself. You notice this? Now, thank you for laughing, because it actually is quite funny. You have to be pretty brazen and have to, what they call, Donna used to call it, she has got the moxie to do it. Well, somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to do the experiment. While you're on the campaign trail, or if you're helping somebody running for office, never take pictures of them alone. You always look for as many people as you can, even if you don't know who they are. A random warm body will work. But I took it because there were no random warm bodies, and I wanted to remember the moment. So the truth is, we don't pick the best and brightest from our district. A lot of people think I will win because my heart is pure. Being right in the sense of being correct is not enough to win, folks. You don't win just because your heart is pure. You win because you employed the correct techniques, which I was asked to come here today and make sure you got. I want to take some time to talk about messaging, because that's very important. However, you need to know you're not running to represent Thomas Jefferson. You're running to represent your district. And that is the goal to getting elected. That is the secret to getting elected. Your job is to convince the voters that you can do the best job of representing them. And that's the only goal you can afford to have during campaign season. The messaging needs to be simple, guys. Keep it really, seriously, 3 or 4 words. This was my message. Declare your political independence. That's my 4th of July shirt. You don't do anything too much more than that. Pick your moral outrage and then make that your topic. That's my topic. And then keep it consistent, because people need consistency. It's not going to do you any good to have 5 different messages, and then you have to remember. Do you remember there was a Republican debate, and the governor of Texas was up there talking about, he was asked the question, how many governmental agencies, federal agencies should we eliminate? And he said, and that's why I've always said we need to eliminate, let's see, what was that? The EPA and there's something else, but it was something we need to eliminate. Don't do that to yourself. If you keep it simple, you don't have to worry about your brain retaining it all. Learn your political philosophy before you go to office. That's why you're here today. This is why Joan asked me to come here today. That's why we gather together. We're here to develop ideas. If you need help that bad, call somebody you trust who you can make your constitutional consultant. And then pick up the phone and call. Now, when I won that award for being the most constitutional legislator, I didn't actually have anybody I could call. I was left to myself. It was very lonely. It was just me and my Constitution. And it was, if I had to do it over again, I would have put somebody on speed dial so that when an issue comes up, I could have somebody helping to sort through, because there were so many public policy issues hitting me so quick, especially at the end of session. It's amazing. I'll tell you the secret of how I won it. When they would ring the bell and open the board, and the voting would begin, I would look up at the board, especially since I was a whip in the House, and it was my job to make sure everybody voted, so of course I'm going to pay attention to how they're voting. And if there were any Republicans who voted opposite of the caucus, I would go talk to them. I would go to their desk and ask, for what purpose did you vote against the caucus? And sometimes they had really good reasons, and it made sense. And because I gleaned like a bee getting pollen off of all the different flowers, I would ask different people, and through their wisdom, I helped myself figure it out. It's not that I have a doctorate in constitutional theology. It's philosophy. It's that I know what I'm talking about because I took the time to learn from people smarter than me. If you mail out anything, don't ever let it go out without a proofreader. You need somebody to look it over, because nobody in here is smart enough, not to make a generalization, but even people who are experts in English could use a little bit of a second pair of eyes, not just for punctuation and grammar, but sometimes you say things and it can be said better. And when you have that kind of help, don't be afraid to ask for help, because your credibility is on the line. And more importantly, the credibility of the entire party is on the line. If you send something out and it has one word misspelled, people are going to think you're not very smart. And worse than that, they might think that the Constitution Party isn't very smart, because we have people who don't know how to spell or how to craft a sentence correct with the correct sentence structure, or that we don't know how to say it in less than 10,000 words. There's something called word economy. And if you have a friend who can guide you and say, hey, you just took a whole paragraph to say what could be said in one sentence, your voters aren't going to read a whole paragraph. That's where you need to get help. And that's where having the power of a party is helpful, because you've got people who might be able to help you. It's okay to copy from other people if you find something good. The old expression is, if my bullets fit in your gun, feel free to use them. That's because there is no such thing as one person who everything he says is original, and he's so great, and that's why we picked him. It's good to actually, as a candidate, to reflect back to your voters what you feel like they're thinking and saying and feeling. I'm going to give you a little list of Facebook stuff, and I want to assure you that these are not Facebook quotes that I've gotten from the Constitution Party page. These are Facebook quotes I've gotten from a very broad cross-section. Most are Republicans. And this is what Republicans are saying about their own party. The Republicans are the reason we can't have nice things. Wow, the Republicans are spending a lot of your money. I'm beginning to think that Trump's purpose is to ensure that no Republican will ever have a chance of being elected president. Watching the total dysfunction of both parties in Washington, I don't see much change. They're still doing the same. Now, the author used a bad word that I was not going to put in my PowerPoint presentation. Don't ever, even if you're quoting people, don't use a bad word. It won't help you. It's okay. You can, if you leave it blank or say bleep or use another euphemism, they'll know it without you having to give the impression to people that you're low class. My friend was an old-fashioned Republican who was an old-fashioned Republican is spinning in his urn. They need to read the Constitution since they have zero understanding of it. I guess they were too young to take civics in college. Trump sure conned a lot of people. Keep hoping. They could have done their job this week. I have no faith that they will ever do it. The GOP is no different than the Dems. Our country is lost. Exactly. We get the same stinking swamp no matter if we get D's or R's up there. Because if we don't vote for the R, we will get a D. And the D will keep sanctuary cities, fund the EPA, fund Planned Parenthood genocide, and not build a wall. And that will make us mad. Oh, wait. Interesting negotiating tactic from Trump. Give the Democrats everything they want. The art of the deal. Keep giving your opponent everything they want in the budget until they agree. That's the master negotiator. These are quotes I harvested, folks. You've read them. Copy them. Use them. Reflect them back. That's our message. Here's another one. If the GOP had 60% majority in Congress, would they then pass bills we expect them to? So let me get this straight. When the Dems are in the majority, they run things. But when the Republicans are in the majority, the Dems run things. Got it? So why do we need the Republicans? So these are some quotes, but you need to know that you can borrow quotes too. This is not Constitution Party people. For a long time, I thought the Republican banner was the white flag of surrender. But that's being far too charitable. It assumes that they were once on our side and that they have simply been taken out of the fight. But they aren't out of the fight. They're in it and in charge of the whole government. And these days, they are more or less flying the hammer and sickle, at least when it comes to what really matters, which is actual public policy and law. What is their motto? We can do socialism better than the Democrats. This is a cool thing. You all have to get earned media. Every one of you. If you're a candidate, get earned media. If you're helping a candidate, call the radio station and tell them, put my candidate friend on. It all helps. When I ran, every time I've run, I've had interviews that I have to go after myself. I have to call the radio station and beg, can you put me on? I got something to say. But there are also people who've gotten me interviews by calling the radio station and saying, you need to get Cynthia Davis on. And it all works together. You need both, really. The radio stations will call me if there are enough of you who call them. And I need to call them too. We all bear responsibility in this. Talk about what you did. You need to use social media. Whether you use it or not. Now, here's a funny picture. You might not think it's funny. These are two other state representatives who are my colleagues in the House. When you walk around taking pictures and posting on Facebook and Twitter, Facebook is way better than anything else out there, so I'll use it a lot. But Twitter is valid. Instagram is valid. Some people are now using Snapchat, but don't post naked pictures of yourself. You'll regret it. What's funny is the middle representative kind of looks like he's drunk. But I don't care because that's the picture I looked best in. So if it's my camera, I get to pick my picture and my message. And that is, nobody can deny that Trump has effectively used Twitter to help us figure out what's going on. Maybe some of it has been to his detriment, but nevertheless, you can't deny that he's had a bigger impact because of his use of social media. All publicity is good. Now, I have had several media outlets that are very left-leaning, and so they don't write complimentary things, but you have to realize all publicity is good as long as they spell my name right. And so this is what I posted. Very happy some Democrat blogs are saying nice things about me. Although I believe this headline may be theologically inaccurate, we're having a great time pricking the conscience of the state. And this is the stuff we got to do. You got to have fun with it. Now, if you're too thin-skinned to have fun with negative publicity, then go find somebody with thicker skin to run for office, because you got to enjoy both of them. We did a robocall when I was running for lieutenant governor, and robocalls will get you a lot of angry people, but Donna Ivanovich left her phone number for the return phone number. She said, do it, she'll let it. She's having fun with it. And really, it was in the middle of everybody getting all agitated. We called 40,000 people in the space of 2 hours. And I called her. I said, Donna, are you okay? And she said, yeah, I'm loving it. And my husband, too. He loved it, too. It's okay. You got to get through it and be brave. I want to give you some lessons from baseball, because we are in the baseball season. Are there any baseball fans here? Phew, yes. Now, even if you don't like professional baseball, there's always having kids and grandkids who play baseball. Does anybody have any kids or grandkids playing baseball? Raise your hand. A few. Well, having 7 children, I've had many opportunities to watch many baseball games. And so I'd like to share some thoughts with you that you might find relevant. Always be ready, even when you're in the outfield. Now, not all my kids are star baseball players, so when they assign you a position to play, some of them would get put in the outfield. Now, the temptation when you're in the outfield is to not be as engaged in the game as the people who are playing bases, and of course the pitcher and the catcher have a lot of excitement going. Well, when you're running and you're in a Constitution party, sometimes you feel like you're not in the big leagues with the other two, but you are. You are. You need to keep yourself focused. So I have a couple kids, actually, not just one, but they'd be in the outfield and they'd be like, I'm looking for a butterfly. I'm catching a butterfly or something else. I don't know. But it's very hard. And that's what we have to not let ourselves do, because your campaign is every bit as valid and important and significant as any other party. Either be the batter or support the batter. You know, we cannot afford to let our candidates get up to bat, which they are. That's their turn up to bat, and have us say, look at these guys in the dugout. Don't do that to your people. If you're helping, get all in it, stay in it. Be the runner. Yes, the tie goes to the runner. You never know what's going to happen in any political contest. It may start out low and slow, and next thing you know, boom. I have a son who was playing baseball one year, and he never hit the ball the whole season except for this one game. And he hit it, and he ran to first base, and he made it to first base. And we were all so excited because this is the first time he's ever done that. And everybody's clapping. I mean, I got to tell you this. So we had a conversation afterwards. What happened? And he said, Mom, you know, the ball was coming toward me, and I was afraid it was going to hit me in the face, so I closed my eyes, and then I felt something, And I heard everybody yelling, so I opened my eyes, and the ball hit my bat, and they were all yelling, "Run, run, 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 run!" The point is we can do more. So what's the secret to attracting good volunteers? What is the secret? The secret is to have fun. People want to work on a campaign where they're having fun. Look at it this way. The world's not getting any better on its own. It's up to us to make stuff happen. So have fun. So if there are any questions or if there's time for questions, I'd like to entertain them. I want you to contact me. Use me as a resource. Go to my website, cynthiadavis.net. Sign up for my newsletter. I promise to thrill and entertain. That's what Joan asked me to do. She said, I'm the closer tonight. Come in. Come to the party. This video, if you didn't catch everything and you want to watch it again, thanks to John, we're going to have it on Vimeo, and you'll get to get inspired again. So are there any questions? Yes. Our good friend John, with his magic wand over there, is going to make all of it happen. And for the sake of the video, he said if I don't run again, I can always do stand-up comedy. Well, you know what, buddy? We're going to change the world one way or another. We might as well do it however we can. Are there any other questions I can entertain? Yes. In fact, we're always helping other candidates. Always. Because, you know what? When it comes to getting people across the finish line, this is all important. There's an expression called "it's showtime." Folks, it's showtime right now for all of us. And even if you haven't thought seriously yet about being a candidate, you have no idea what opportunity may develop, and you've got to be ready for in case it does. And I want you to feel free to contact me and get some help, because the more professional we do this, the more offices we're going to win. The more offices we're winning, the more credibility we're getting. It creates a synergistic effect. Next thing you know, you're going to have people winning, and then more people win because when I ran on the Constitution Party the first time, the most negative comment people would randomly come up to me and say is, the Constitution Party has never gotten anybody elected to anything. Why are you wasting your time? I had people who thought I was committing political suicide. And so why do we want to take on that negativity? Let's win some offices. Let's make a difference. And then they won't be able to say that anymore. Anything else, Joan? Okay. Well, it seems like I've satisfied all of you. Thank you for coming today.